recording this as a Zoom webinar as well, my presentation on using open access materials to create more vibrant classes. And at the end, I'll be providing the recording to Krista and Adriana so that folks who weren't here today can see it. I'm really excited about what I'm going to be talking about today because it isn't just about saving money for our students, which is a biggie, and which is part of the reason why, but only part of the reason why I switched to open access. When I began crafting my materials, it vastly expanded the materials base that I now access from. And that materials base just grows every single semester. I keep a file open for myself on various devices, which is new teaching resources and references, and I'm constantly throwing things into that so that I can update my course the next semester. It is so much easier now for me to update my course content because I can just delete one link and stick in another, right? And then put a tagline on my syllabus. The class materials are not just accessible in terms of open access, but also in meeting our accessible syllabus requirements and in terms of students who learn differently. And I'll be talking about how I have video and website and articles and poems and all of these different materials and different formats for students who are drawn to different types of content. It is a way more versatile approach to teaching and learning, and all of my classes are flipped so that my students actually come prepared to my webinars and to my on-campus classes, having completed all of the readings, the videos, the materials, and then module report, and we go from there. I do find that students are spending far more time with the content now than they ever did before when I had a textbook. And for me, it's really expanded my professional, professorial worldview and my networking because I'm constantly reaching out to people like filmmakers and saying, hey, how can I get access to your film for my students? I love what you're doing, how can this happen? So the subtitle of this talk is How to Acquire $1 Million. And the way I came up to this is I'm about to hit my 15 year of teaching at San Jose State University. I teach about 125 students a year. I conservatively estimate that the free content I'm giving to my students every single semester is $500. Do the math and you get $937,500. So that's how I feel like I personally am bringing $1 million to this campus, and you can too. What is needed? Significant time invested in ongoing online explorations. I spend hours and hours and hours and hours previewing films, looking at websites, figuring out new ways to teach the content, reading articles. So this is a lot of time up front, but then it saves time in the back. To have an inherent delight in the creativity of others is really required because we are outsourcing much of the learning to people who have created content around the world. I maintain at least 150 different links in my modules, and so those links are constantly changing. For example, TED Talks. They recently redid their whole website and web approach, and so I had to update a bunch of links, but my students know if they can't access something, they text me, let me know, and within 2 minutes it's been updated. And then a willingness to turn off the academic snob button. I, like many other erudite scholars, was, for example, very suspicious of Wikipedia. I am now a Wikipedia convert because of the community of scholars and practitioners who are now making so many of the sites on Wikipedia fabulous. And that's true for many other resources as well. So my premise is that we can open access just about anything and just about everything. And here I placed one page of my syllabus to the right, and I've listed a number of the sources that I tend to go to for open access, and they include TED and TEDx Talks, Vimeo, YouTube. I have subscriptions to content providers like Crash Course, Stated Clearly, Science Show. I am an interdisciplinary teacher, so I access from biology, chemistry, environmental science, anthropology, English, linguistics, political science, humanities, American studies, Chicano studies, Asian American studies. Just about everything goes into my class at some point in time. New York Times, Washington Post, Nature, And I'll be going through some of these in my talk so that you become more familiar not only with what they are, but what they provide. And then you can see in my syllabus how with each module I have films, readings, websites, concepts, and then exercises. And that sort of structure is built into all 10 of my modules. Okay. So when we go onto Canvas and the students are accessing the material, you can see that they have a module report and a discussion posting that's due before the class in which we discuss it. And then all of the links are open access. Students just click on these links to access the material, and it matches up with what was on the syllabus. So this same lineup, so here's the long form and here's the short form. So TED Talks are astonishing. One of my favorite authors, Chimamanda Adichie, Ngozi Adichie, she has this amazing talk on the danger of a single story. And my students see that at the beginning of class, and there are so many students who say, thank you so much for including this in your course material, it really resonated with me. There are 2,500 talks. I am a TEDx practitioner. I organize TEDx San Jose State University, and the TEDx talks, which are basically a franchise for TED all around the world, also have a tremendous database. And this is a case where I'm constantly going back through with keywords into both TED and TEDx talks and saying, okay, is there something that is relevant to the different modules that I have? And then previewing it and assigning it. Now, there are certain lecturers, professors, scientists, scholars, practitioners who are not on TED, and so I find them in other conferences like Bioneers. Bioneers, which is held in the North Bay, is now making certain of their talks available for free as YouTube videos. So usually I'll find a scholar or a practitioner or an author who I'm really interested in, and then I'll search for them on the web and see if they have a talk in a video format. Crash Course is this really funny, nerdy content that was created initially for advanced placement courses or AP classes, and I started using them when I was teaching AP Environmental Science and also AP Biology. And I love them because the guy is funny, he's brilliant, he's snarky, he has really great graphics. And if you can see now, they have a specialized series in anatomy and physiology, astronomy, biology, chemistry, computer science, ecology, all the way to US government and politics. And these are plug and play. Students can go back and forth. They're closed captioned. Even if students have a hard time keeping up with the pace, they can slow it down and they can make use of it. So for example, one way in which I bring chemistry into my biology using Crash Course is a video on That's Why Carbon is a Tramp. And it's about the carbon molecule and how it's very promiscuous and will bond with all sorts of other molecules. And it's, again, it's funny, and it's something that sticks in students' brain in a way that, for example, I never had when I was a student. Vimeo is an online repository of documentaries and micro-documentaries. Just for nature, they have 27,500 videos. I've gone through and used Vimeo for humanities, for linguistics, but also for things like physics and environmental science. Not all of these are entirely available for free, and like many different online programs, you do need to sign in and establish an account, but oftentimes I'm able to go directly to the filmmaker and get a backdoor into their film. Like I'll get a password to be able to watch it. And there's a film that I've been using for over 10 years because it's so amazing, and there the filmmaker did give me a backdoor because I can't distribute physical DVDs to my online students, right? And nor can I live stream a video when I'm teaching a webinar. It doesn't work with the bandwidth. So my students need access directly to that streaming video. Another access that I hadn't thought to use, simply because I haven't had a TV for 35 years, and oftentimes I don't have a car either, KQED has some really great short news articles. They have videos, they have audio reports. Oftentimes they're 4 minutes or less, And again, I put the categories up here, anything from astronomy to physics to engineering, water, food, etc. And because they're so often to be locally focused, California focused, I find them highly relevant to my classes. So here's an example. It's a 4-minute, 16-second podcast. It's streaming or downloadable. It's local, it's relevant, it's about climate change, and it's well done. And I found that if I use material that was prepared by a full-time professional in a discipline or a subdiscipline or a category that I'm really interested in, they will do a way better job in 2 to 4 minutes than I will do in lecture. So outsourcing, I'm all for it. The New York Times, yes, we can get articles from places like the Times and the Post, but these are also news agencies that create podcasts. And one of the most powerful films I use in my class is called Who Speaks Wukchumni? Wukchumni, if you don't know, is one of the native California languages in the Yokut, Central California area. This is the last living speaker. All native languages in California are endangered or threatened. This is a really big deal. Most people don't know it. And Von Lee, the filmmaker, is actually here in the North Bay. His wife is the one who does the Global Oneness Project, which you will see in a moment. This film not only has made a real difference in how I teach about California native languages because of how it's connected me with ICLS, which is a native language resource center that the filmmaker connected me to, but also because a group of my students saw this film where Marie Wilcox, the last speaker, tells a story of how humans got their hands, and my students wanted to then animate that story for a group project. They drove 7 hours to meet with her, recorded her, and made that story into an animated storybook that is now available on YouTube. The Global Oneness Project, which I noted before, run by Clary Von Lee, has micro-documentaries, photo slideshows, and stories with lesson plans. So they're already set up with a quote-unquote cheat sheet, which is similar to another resource that I'll be talking about. But as you can see here, they also have longer documentaries, so up to 17 minutes or 20 minutes. And here they tell you how to bring this into a classroom where maybe it's a sports focus, or it could be an empowerment, or youth education, or cultural identity, or inclusiveness, etc. So the National Center for Case Study Teaching and Science is one of the most powerful resources that I've been associated with for over a decade. I have been to a number of their workshops. They do hold annual workshops for professors. They do have funds for that every year. And the case collection, which you can search, has over 700 case studies. And when I went through and looked at all the disciplines, it includes almost every single discipline on campus. And the way you search through it is you use a keyword search, and they will give you a whole bunch of different ways to teach, anything from a debate format, or you might have a clicker class, or a phased lesson. And with the National Center for Case Study Teaching and Science, you get all the class materials. You oftentimes get quizzes associated with it, or concept lists. You get glossaries. You get a reference list. It's stunning, the amount of information and educational materials that they have. Another thing that I've been outsourcing are quizzes. And part of my deal is I try and make it absolutely impossible for students to cheat or plagiarize in class. They can't. So for example, with one of these quizzes, to complete it, you actually have to drag and drop every single item into these boxes. And if you don't get it right the first time, then you do it again. And the aim is to get 100% on the quiz. And so by having students engage with these animated quizzes where they have to move things around, it's actually good if they don't get things right the first time because they learn it better. And all of my exams now on Canvas tend to be either in this format where I will outsource the content and students need to go somewhere, do something, and then report back, or they will be interactive exams where they have to access a whole bunch of different materials and then talk about how they relate. One other example include animated maps. This is a map that the animation lasts about 1.5 minutes, and it shows you how native territory was taken over in the United States. And this is, again, one of the times where having something in film makes an infinitely more powerful, profound impact than anything I could say. Because in 1.5 minutes, students watch native ancestral territory go for the entire United States to these little tiny dots. And they watch the era as it goes by. And it teaches the lesson in a different way. So just a few other ways we can use open access materials. Because our department usually doesn't have a budget for guest speakers or has a teeny tiny budget for guest speakers, and I would not insult my colleagues by offering them such a low honorarium to come in, we can use recorded talks as virtual speakers. So in this way, I'm able to bring so many different voices into my class. One of my favorite speakers, Ron Finley, he's this guerrilla gardener down in LA. He does this TED Talk that's been seen by 4 million people. We watched it in class, and then I managed to get him in class online for 5 minutes of Q&A via FaceTime. So again, it's a way to increase our networking and our collegial rapport and get hundreds of different voices into our classroom in a way that we couldn't otherwise. And I do design my class material so that there's overlapping but not redundant content, because I also know that there's some students who are not going to click on every single link, who are not going to do everything, or who are just going to try and cut to the chase. So if they don't read the article, they'll still get the class concept in a video. Or if they don't watch the video, they'll still get the class concept on a website. And then, of course, we can share our own creations with colleagues. I know Canvas has the Open Commons that allows us to do that. And also, I assign articles that I've written and videos that I've made. So it's a way of bringing our own richness into the classroom. So that's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I see a question here. And